What's up, pilots? Today we're taking a look at the new HDZero Halo 70A ESC. What makes this ESC unique, aside from its beefy specs, is that it's offered in both AM32 and BLHeli32. This is incredibly exciting to me because we can compare firmware performance on the same hardware. So in this video, let's take a quick look at what this ESC has to offer. We'll break it down into what features set it apart from others on the market, and how to choose between the two versions, AM32 or BLHeli32. When choosing an ESC, the main factors for me are performance and ease of use. So let's talk about what HDZero has done in both. On the performance side, the Halo ESC is a monster. Most modern racing ESCs are only rated at 60 amps continuously per channel, but the Halo ESC can run 70 amps continuously and 100 amps burst current for 3 seconds, which is much higher than others on the market. They even have video tests to back it up. This means you can run considerably more aggressive tunes with peace of mind the ESC will be able to handle anything you throw at it. Over the years, new motors have become higher and higher in kV, but ESCs remained relatively unchanged. With the Halo's extra current draw headroom, you'll be able to bring out the full potential of any high kV motors that come out in the future. I flew multiple back-to-back packs consistently with no issues. The only limiting factor being my motors barely had time to cool down. Oh, and it can even do ADAS. On the ease of use side, HDZero has put a ton of thought into their board layout. Some of the board features make building with it both convenient and reliable. The main power pads are dual-sided. This means you can orient the ESC whichever way you want, making it much more flexible to build with. It also means in a hard crash, if the leads get stripped, you can still flip the ESC over and use the other side. They've also included holes on the power pads to add your capacitor, which is really thoughtful. Size-wise, the board is also shorter than the Foxur Slim, making it much more compatible with all the frames in the market. A shorter ESC means more space, so the standoffs don't have to go into your ESC in a hard crash. The ESC also comes conformal coated already. You can see it in the reflective sheen, and it's a pretty thick layer. I really love when boards come pre-conformal coated because it means it's mostly waterproofed already and I don't have to spend time doing it myself. Another feature I love is the motor pad design. They have a little notch that allows me to apply heat to the pad without having to put my soldering iron on top, which often leaves little spikes on the solder joint. This means you can actually solder the pads without having to take off your top plate. You can sort of access it from the side, which makes repairs or swapping motors really convenient. This really made soldering the motor wires much cleaner, and I love attention to detail in things like this. It really shows they're thinking about everything. As mentioned before, there are two versions to the Halo ESC based on firmware, and they have slight chip differences, so it's not possible to flash firmware from one to the other. To tell the AM32 and BLHeli32 versions apart, you can look at the center layer of the board. The AM32 has 8 ICs in the center board, 1 MCU and driver pair per channel, whereas the BLHeli32 version will have 4 ICs, with a single chiplet per channel instead. The BLHeli version of the Halo comes with 32.10 flashed, which is the latest and greatest, and doesn't have the rearming bug that occasionally plagues 32.9. This is what pilots have been asking for. I got both versions of the ESC to test, and the BLHeli version I picked up instantly with my normal settings. It flew exactly like how I expected it to, except it was more consistent at full throttle and back-to-back packs. With the AM32 version, it took me a while to dial it in. My goal was to get AM32 to fly just as good, if not better than BLHeli32. But the problem was I have no AM32 experience, and I didn't really know what settings to change to get there, or to get the same performance. But luckily, after a couple sessions, I got pretty close and I found some settings I liked. And by the end, I was even beating my BLHeli32 times. It really just took a time investment to find a tune that I was happy with. I'll share both my settings and we can go over why I chose the settings I did. These are not the end-all be-all tune, it's just my personal preferences, but maybe, who knows, maybe this can help you find a equivalent AM32 settings for similar BLHeli32 settings, or maybe it gives you some inspiration on a tuning direction you want to go. For BLHeli32, I like to run DMAG off. I run relatively high timing, so I don't really need the desync protection, and having DMAG off gives me the fastest response. For PWM frequency, I prefer locked 36. This is because I don't have the same ESCs across all my builds, and I found having a locked PWM made the drones feel more consistent across different hardware. I also wanted a bit more torque than 48 locks, so 36 was a good middle ground for me. For motor timing, my ideal originally was 30. However, I live in Taiwan and it gets really hot in the summer, and a lot of times my ESCs, or basically my motors, would stutter on 30 timing in the heat. So lowering it to 28 helps me with that, so I just keep it at 28 these days. On AM32, I run PWM 36 locked for the same reason as BLHeli. But by default, locked PWM is not enabled. So there's a checkbox you have to click right here in order to run the same frequency for both your high-low. Otherwise, it's going to force you to use different values for your high-low. For motor kV, it's recommended to run the exact same kV value as your motor. So since I run the F50s, they're at 2150 kV. I run 2140 kV, which is 10 below my real value. This was just a suggestion from my friend Carb, who runs the same motors. So I just took his advice, but I think as long as you're pretty close to what your true kV value is, it doesn't matter too much. By default, the Halo ESC will come with 15 degrees motor timing, which I found wasn't as responsive as what I was used to, so I boosted it one notch higher to 22.5, and that got me most of the way there. I then boosted startup power to 120%, which helped with fast maneuvers, and with these changes, AM32 was feeling really good. Hopefully this gives you a baseline AM32 tune to play around with, or some ideas how to convert your BLHeli settings over. Give them a shot and let me know if it works for you. Now the most important part, which version do you go with? Learning something new takes time, but building confidence in something new takes even longer. So I think the deciding factor is, are you a competitive racer, and do you have the time to dial in AM32? If you have races coming up, your entire fleet is on BLHeli, or you just don't have time to try something new, then go with BLHeli. It's something you can just pick up and go, and you don't have to make any adjustments to it. BLHeli is a mature firmware that's been proven time and time again, and you're out there to win races. Confidence in your gear is king. Plus, the Halo comes flashed with 32.10, which is the most reliable version. However, if you don't have any short-term time constraints, I'd actually recommend giving AM32 a try for a few reasons. It's cheaper, and it will be able to receive firmware updates, unlike BLHeli32, which has been discontinued and frozen at 32.10. Being able to receive firmware updates means that improvements can be made, and it's more future-proof as more development continues on the AM32 project, which is open source. At my skill level, I've been able to get AM32 to fly just as good as BLHeli. And over time, as more pilots pick up AM32, a meta of recommended settings will emerge. So the difficulty of finding the best tune or learning AM32 might not even be an issue anymore. Once again, HDZero has put out a well thought out product that really takes into account what pilots want by working with them early in the development cycle. The high specs really allow me to bring out the full potential of my gear. I'd love to see what tune you guys are running for either firmware. Leave them in the comments below. Maybe we can help each other out by sharing our favorite settings. I hope you got some value from this video. If you have, please consider giving a like and subscribing. And as always, keep pushing, and I'll see you at the races.